Hello, and welcome to my July wrap-up. I read a lot of things in July. I don't have any statistics. Because I haven't filled out my spreadsheet yet because I just got home recently from camping and all that sort of stuff. So we are just going to go through the books I read more than I read last month. After I find out how many library books I read, I can give you a total. It's bad when you forget what books you've read. I liked most of the things that I read this month, so that was really great. I don't really recall anything that I really hated off the top of my head, but I mean, it's possible. I read 22 books, so quite a few of them were graphic novels, and I did actually finish one audiobook, which is strange for me. But the first book that I finished was Pirnceless, Volume 2, Get Over Yourself by Jeremy Whitley. It's one of my favorite graphic novel series, and I did really enjoy that one. I rated it 4 stars. Definitely a series I'm going to be continuing on, and I think one that I'm actually going to, invest in and spend my money on. Then I read Year of the Flood by Margaret Atwood. It's the second book in the Mad Adam trilogy. I don't want to tell you too much about this because it is the second book in a series, but it doesn't follow the same characters, and it does tie into the first book, but I didn't see the connection until later in the book. So yeah, I rated it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it, but not as much as the first one. Then I finished my last jar book from June, and that was Lord of Chaos by Robert Jordan. I really enjoyed this book. It's just very chunky, so it took me longer. I rated it 4 stars. It is higher in my list of books that I have enjoyed in this series, but not at the top. And again, I'm not going to tell you anything about this because it's the 6th book in the series. So yeah, but if you do want to know my more in-depth thoughts on the first 5 books, I did do a series review for those, which will be linked up above. Then I read Only Skein Deep, which was the first jar book that I read from July, and this is the, I think, 15th book in this series. The Goodreads doesn't tell me, so I don't know if I'm right or not. And I have mixed feelings about this series. It doesn't really feel like a cozy mystery because the mystery kind of took a backseat to what else was going on, mainly her being pregnant, but it was okay. Then I continued on with reading some Giant Days, so I read Extra Credit Volume 1, and that's by John Allison. I enjoyed it. It kind of doesn't fit well into the storyline, but it was great, so no complaints there. I rated it 3 stars. Some of the short stories in it were better than others. Then I read my first Dan Brown in a long time, Deception Point, and this was great. I love Dan Brown. I am trash for Dan Brown. I rated that 4 stars. Highly enjoyed. Then one of the library books that I still have, 'cause I need to return it, is Backstagers Volume 2. I didn't like this. I only rated it 2 stars. I forgot that I had read this actually. I'm just not really impressed by it. It's not for me, so I'm just not going to continue on in that series at this time. Then I finished The Book of Speculation by Erika Swyler. It is tied for my favorite book of the month. This was one of my jar picks. It has been on my TBR for so long. I bought it on sale and I really liked it. It had mermaids in it. It had tarot stuff, and it was great. And I liked Erika's writing a lot as well. I rated it a 4 star, and please read this book. I love it with my whole heart. Then I read the 2nd volume of Zodiac Starforce by Kevin Panetta, Paula, I'm not going to pronounce that, and Sarah Stern. This one's called Cries of the Fire Prince. This was really great. I love Zodiac Starforce. I think it's a really cute graphic novel. I like the characters. It's fun. I really hope that it gets continued in because I do love it a lot. Oh dear. Then I read another one of my jar picks, and that is The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. by Stieg Larsson, which was one of my jar picks, which is what spurred me to finally read this. I've had them on my shelf since 2011 when I worked at Kohl's, which is kind of funny because I work at Chapters now, and because I wanted to watch the movie. So I did. I watched both the version that's set, or the English version and the Swedish version. I liked both of them for different reasons, and I rated this book a 4 out of 5, but I'm thinking about bumping it up to a 5 out of 5 because I really, really did enjoy it, and it has stuck with me. Like, I still think about it. And it's been 2 weeks since I read this book, so, you know, that's great. Then I finished the one audiobook that I listened to in this month. I'm not a very big audiobook person, so this is like big for me, and that was The Hidden Power of Fucking Up by the Try Guys, and I would definitely recommend listening to it on audiobook. I did feel like I was missing out a little bit because they have pictures in the physical book that I didn't get to see, but I mean, if you are watching their videos regularly, some of the things that they did in the book have been also videos that have come out recently. So, I mean, that is a little bit of like a takeaway from a negative from the book, but still really enjoyed it. It was good. I rated it 3 stars. Just kind of cemented for me that I don't like Zach very much. So, sorry, Zach fans. He's not my fave. Next, I started the reading rush, and I started by failing to read Darth Vader Volume 1 Imperial Machine in one spot, so this was just a bonus book that counted for nothing, but I did really enjoy it. I rated it 4 stars. For those of you who don't know, Anakin Skywalker is my favorite. He will always be my favorite. You cannot replace him as my favorite with anybody else, and I'm definitely going to continue on that series because he is a precious baby. Then I finished A Red Herring Without Mustard, and that's by Alan Bradley. This is the 3rd book in the Flavia series, so I'm not going to tell you much about it other than it's about a little girl who's 11 who solves crimes with chemistry in England. And it's a very interesting book to read, and I rated it 3 stars. Then I decided to actually read a book in the same spot the whole time, and I chose Blackbird Volume 1, or Book 1, The Great Beast by Sam Humphries and Jen Bartel. I like this. The art in it is really, really cool. It's a good story, and I rated it 4 stars. Well, I originally rated it 5 stars, but I have since bumped it down to 4 stars. Next, I read The Couple Next Door by Shari Lapena, and this was also a great read. I'm very excited to read her new book, Somebody You Know, and I rated this 4 stars. I thought it was great. Kept me guessing until the end. I like how her protagonists are generally unlikable people because it kind of keeps me more invested. Yeah, 4 stars. Love Shari Lapena, and she's Canadian, so woohoo. Then I read arguably my least favorite book of the month. I originally rated it 3 stars, but I think I'm bumping it down to 2, and that is The Bookshop by Penelope Fitzgerald. I also watched the movie, which was disappointing. Would not recommend, and like, it was well written, it's just the story was uninteresting and I didn't like any of the characters. I found them all boring. After that, I picked up Bunnicula by Deborah and James Howie. And I love Bunnicula. This was a reread for me. It is the 40th anniversary edition with a nice velvet cover and cute end pages and sprayed edges. And it's just a feel-good vampire bunny story. I would recommend it. I rated it 5 stars. Then at this point I was camping in the reading rush, so it's only good, like perfect. It's only right to read one of the Lumberjanes volumes, so I read volume 8, Stone Cold, by Waters, Lee, Pichix, and Leho. Apologize for all the mispronounced names, and it was okay. I enjoyed it. I rated it 4 stars. I like the art style in the first few volumes better still, but like, it's good. I like the story. It was cute. Then, I mean, I guess this is also in competition for my favorite book of the month, Deja Dead by Kathy Reichs. This is the first in the Temperance Brennan series, which is the series that Bones is based off of, though there are significant changes between the book and the show. So in that respect, it wasn't what I was expecting, but so good. So good. I loved it. I rated it 4 stars. I'm very excited to continue on the series, though when that will happen, I'm not sure. Then the second last book that I read in the month, so I did count wrong earlier. It's whatever number I said, -1. Because I didn't finish that other book on the same day. But regardless, I read A Newfoundlander in Canada by Alan Doyle. This is a autobiography of his time on the road with Great Big Sea when they were just getting started. And it was great. I really loved it. I loved the stories. I liked how it took you across the country except for the north. And it was endearing. It was lovely. I enjoyed it. I rated it 5 stars, but it is not in contention for my favorite book of the month for reasons that I don't know. Not important. The final book that I read in July was By Book or by Crook by Eva Gates. She's a Canadian. This is one of the cozies in my cozy challenge that I'm doing right now. Try a chapter vlog. It's the first book that I read for it, and I loved it. I rated it 4 stars. For those of you who don't know, Eva Gates is also Canadian. Her real name is Vicky Delaney. She writes lots of cozy mysteries, and she is fantastic. I loved this book. It was great. I mean, what more do you want? It takes place in a lighthouse where the protagonist lives, and there's a library downstairs. It's a small town. There's a love triangle, and there's a cat. It's basically the cozy mystery trifecta. But that is all that I read in the month of July. Let me know down below if you've read any of these books, or if you're now interested in reading any of these books, because I did such a great job at reviewing them. I know that I'm not good at reviewing them, so like, it's fine. We're good. But yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next video soon, and I'll see you then.